In the dense ancient forests of Eastern Europe, there is a legend that has been whispered for centuries. The tale of the Leshy, the forest spirit who guards the woods and all who dwells within them. The Leshy is a creature of both beauty and terror, a being who can shapeshift into a human form, but is most often seen as a towering wild figure covered in leaves and moss, with eyes like glowing amber lanterns. His hair is green of the forest canopy, and his skin seems to blend seamlessly with the trees and the earth itself. He is the embodiment of the wild, untamed spirit of the forest, both protector and punisher. Long ago, in a village nestled at the edge of one such forest. Long ago, in a village nestled at the edge of one such forest, there lived a young man named Boris. He was known for his curiosity and his boldness, traits that had often led him into trouble. The village elders warned him time and time again to respect the forest, to avoid venturing too deep into the trees, for the Leshy was no friend to those who disrespected his domain. But Boris, like many young men before him, believed the old tales were nothing more than superstition. He scoffed at the warnings and laughed off the stories of the Leshy's terrible power. One cold autumn evening, when the wind howled through the village and the trees groaned under the weight of the coming storm, Boris decided to test his courage. He would enter the forest, prove the old stories wrong, and return before nightfall. No Leshy, no monster would scare him away. As he ventured deeper into the woods, the air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. The towering trees, with their gnarled branches, seemed to stretch up forever, blocking out the pale light of the fading sun. Boris pressed on, his footsteps muffled by the thick carpet of leaves beneath his feet. The further he went, the more oppressive the silence became, until it felt as though the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting. Hours passed, and still Boris ventured on. He felt the creeping sense of unease in the back of his mind, but he dismissed it as nothing more than nerves. The trees loomed taller, the shadows longer, and he realized, too late, that he had lost track of the time. The path had disappeared, swallowed by the dense underbrush, and the way back seemed as elusive as a dream. It was then that he heard it, a soft rustling, like footsteps in the leaves. Boris froze. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Slowly he turned, his breath catching in his throat. Standing before him, just beyond the edge of his vision, was a figure, a tall, dark silhouette, draped in the green and brown of the forest. The figure was unlike anything Boris had ever seen, its form shifting in the shadows like something both human and animal, but not quite either. Who, who, who are you? Boris stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. The figure stepped forward, its eyes glowing, a fierce amber piercing through the dim light of the forest. The Leshy's face was half human, half beast, with a mane of leaves that shifted in the wind. His lips curled into a slow, menacing smile, showing teeth like the roots of an ancient tree. I am the guardian of this forest. The Leshy's voice was deep and resonant, as if the very earth itself had spoken. You have trespassed, human. Boris's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to run, but his feet felt rooted to the ground, as though the very soil itself was holding him in place. The Leshy's gaze was unyielding, and with each step it took towards him, Boris could feel the weight of the forest pressing in on him, like it was alive, watching, waiting. I didn't mean to, Boris stammered, his voice trembling. I got lost. Please let me go. I didn't mean any harm. The Leshy chuckled, a low rumbling sound that made the very trees shake. Harm? You have wandered into my domain, and for that you must pay the price. Boris's mind raced. He had heard the stories. The Leshy was not merciful. It was said that he could change the forest itself, twisting it to trap those who had dared to enter. Some said the Leshy would lead trespassers in circles until they starved, or worse, turned them into animals to be hunted. Others claimed he could bind a person's soul to the forest, never to escape. Please, Boris begged, his knees weak. I will leave. I'll never return to the forest again. The Leshy's glowing eyes flickered, and for a moment it seemed as if the forest held its breath. Then the creature tilted its head, a slow, deliberate movement. Leave? The Leshy mused. You think I will simply let you go because you asked? Boris nodded frantically, his mind filled with the terror of the creature before him. I will let you go, the Leshy said, his voice dripping with dark amusement, but only if you promise me one thing. Boris, desperate to escape, nodded eagerly. Anything. I'll do anything. The Leshy smile widened, and his voice became a whisper that seemed to echo all around him. You will never speak of this night. Never tell anyone what you have seen here. The forest has its secrets, and I will not tolerate them being revealed. Do you understand? Boris didn't hesitate. He nodded, the fear overwhelming his reason. Yes, I promise. Good, the Leshy said, and with a flick of his hand, the trees seemed to part, revealing a path back towards the village. Go then, but remember your promise. Break it, and I will find you. Boris didn't need to be told twice. He turned and ran, not daring to look back. The forest seemed to open before him, the once looming shadows now fading, as he sprinted towards the village. When he finally reached the safety of his home, the first light of dawn was breaking through the trees. He collapsed inside, gasping for breath. The terrifying image of the Leshy burned into his mind. For years, Boris kept his promise. He never spoke of the Leshy, nor did he ever again venture near the forest. But the memories haunted him, a dark secret that weighed on his soul. And sometimes, when he walked near the forest's edge, he could feel the eyes of the Leshy watching him from the shadows, waiting, remembering. To this day, travellers and hunters in those parts still speak of the Leshy, the guardian of the forest, and the eerie sensation that comes when the trees seem to close in around you, waiting for the next foolish soul to trespass. And others warn that if you listen closely, you can hear the rustling of the leaves, like footsteps in the forest. And if you listen too long, you might just find yourself lost in the woods, forever trapped by the Leshy, the eternal guardian of the forest.